So, Kaylee, this week I went and donated blood. I think you probably remember in high school when I used to donate blood and pass out. That was always fun.
Yeah, you passed out every single time.
I did.
It was scary.
I've gotten much better at it. I donate, they're called Power Reds at the American Red Cross now. Basically, they pump 2 pints out, but they pump a pint of plasma back in, and they pump a pint of saline back in. So your like liquid levels never really fall, your blood volume levels never really fall, and I don't pass out. But some guy definitely passed out at the blood drive, but it wasn't me. So hey.
I have a question because I used to donate plasma,
Hmm.
so I did the opposite, and they would run it through the centrifuge to separate things out and then pump the red blood cells back in with an anticoagulant that made me feel like I had ice moving through my veins.
Yeah,
Is it they do the same thing for
same
the
thing. Yeah, same thing,
Okay.
just the other way around. And it's like chilling, and sometimes it leaves a weird taste in your mouth. But just like a general PSA for anybody who's listening, if you can, because I recognize that not everyone can donate blood, but if you can donate, I would consider it a personal favor if you would go and donate blood. I think it's a good thing. Today I have on my Heroes for Babies shirt, so I'm trying to rep it, but this has nothing to do with the episodes, so maybe we should start talking about it.
I mean, I guess it's showtime. All right, this is To the Blueberry, episode 4. This is a psych rewatch podcast with real life best friends, Alexis and Kaylee. Alexis is the Gus, and
Oh yeah.
I am the Sean Spencer. Today's episode title is really long. It's, I think, the start of like their super long titles. Uh, episode 4 is titled Woman Seeking Dead Husband, Smoking Okay, No Pets.
Can we just stop there for a minute?
I want to. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. So
Yeah.
I don't. I get the women seeking dead husband thing based on the episode, but I don't understand smokers okay, no pets. First of all, don't smoke, people. Like, just don't do it. It's bad for your lungs. It's bad for your heart. It's bad for all of you. It's bad for the people around you. It's bad for your pets.
Oh, and it also will make you look old before your time. Not to mention the
This
damage
is
it does
true.
to your internal organs, but like, girl, you don't need those extra lines. Boy, you
Nope.
don't need that dry ass skin.
Nope. Nope. But I didn't understand where it came from. I wasn't sure if it came from anywhere or if they were just like, oh, we'll go with it.
That was my question. I was like, is this just funny because it sounds like more like an ad? Like,
And maybe because it's backwards, like normally it would say no smokers, pets okay.
would it? I really don't know.
And then the woman seeking the dead husband
That part's funny because
would actually usually be a good person. Spoiler alert. So maybe it's all supposed to be backwards on purpose.
I
Like good woman seeking husband, pets okay, no smokers versus bad woman seeking dead husband,
girl, don't
smokers okay.
spoil.
No. Oh, I'm just messing it all up today. I don't know. It's a weird title, but in general, it's one of my like less memorable episodes. I watched it twice because I watched it once for content for the podcast and I watched it once to watch it, but
What
like
order do you do it in?
I do content first and then I just watch it to watch it
I did it the
slash to try to find a
I
pineapple.
did it that way before a couple of times, and then this time I did it the opposite way, and I think I liked it better because I could just like kick back the first time and enjoy myself, and then like I already had an idea of the beats that were coming up, so the notes I mean there's a lot more notes, but
Yeah. That's one of the my notes just keep getting longer. That's one of my struggles for sure. But like I've watched this series. I'm going to say that was my fourth and fifth viewing or my fifth and sixth viewing of that episode. And like, yeah, I watched it and I knew who the murderer was because I've seen the episode so many times, but I didn't really remember a lot of the stuff that went on. And I think it's just because kind of it's an memorable episode, especially after the last two episodes, which were like huge for me in my psych loving.
I agree. I think there are certain episodes that do stand out, and then we'll find that, you know, certain ones just aren't as memorable.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think, like, in later seasons, there are, like, really iconic ones, and those are the ones that immediately jump to mind. But I know every time I start watching it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember this. So, you
Yeah.
want to get into the recap?
Oh, yes. So the episode opens in a flashback of 1989. And Sean
Stakeout.
Sean is on Baby Sean, Lil Sean, who's still Lil Sean number 3. Lil Sean number 3 is on a stakeout with Henry, and they are hiding behind like a wall or something, watching for the perp. And Henry starts talking about things you can and can't do on a stakeout. And the first thing he said is, "You can't sleep on a stakeout, Sean." But then at one point he said, "You also can't drink on a stakeout because then you have to pee. And as soon as you have to pee, that's when the perp comes."
I was like, poor little sleepy grumpy Sean, but that kid is such a good little version of Rode.
He is.
He really is. He's sassy enough,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes. Well, as soon as Henry tells him that he can't drink because he'll have to pee, he goes, "Now I think I gotta pee." And
Yeah.
then they spot their guy, which is the neighbor, who's stealing the newspaper.
Now I got you, you lion. I just love Henry's little tirade. He's mocking the guy and he's like, "I can explain." And Sean's just like, "What am I witnessing right now?" Also, where is his mom? Like, what? Why is she
Yeah.
in the house asleep? Why is Sean outside with his dad? This is,
Right.
oh,
I mean, and it's, what, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning?
yeah, who really knows?
Like, the paper's been delivered,
And it's still dark.
but it was still dark. Yeah. I don't know. But yes, the neighbor was stealing the newspaper, and while they were in their, like, stakeout mode, they were talking about kind of tips for stakeouts. So that leads us to...
The precinct.
Yes, in Chief's office. And Sean is sitting in the Chief's chair, and oh my gosh, Kaylee, I have to tell you this. So, first of all, that chair had a lift on it. I don't know if you noticed that. The actual cushion part is a separate piece. But my grandma used to have one of those. And we used to play on it all the time. Like, I was with Sean 100%, because you sit on it and it goes shh, and it gets into a sitting position. But as soon as you let any weight off of it, it pushes you up. And that was really good for my grandma because she had Parkinson's disease, so her strength just wasn't there. But man, that was so much fun to play with. And as a pregnant woman, like, I could totally see why Chief wants to sit on
Oh,
that.
for sure.
Also, as a Sean and Gus, I could see why they would want to sit on
But
it.
Gus's whole vibe, this whole scene is like, "We're gonna get in trouble. We shouldn't. I don't." He's like very Chucky Finster about it. Oh wow, throwback Rugrats reference. But
Yeah. But my birthing canal has never felt more aligned.
Oh, I felt like Sean's vibe alternately was like, "Let's get in trouble." But
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
I don't know exactly what happened, but I wrote #fart joke in my notes.
I don't.
Do you have any idea where that
I
came from?
really don't. Fart joke? Oh, well, he's talking about his lactose intolerance.
That's
And
it.
how it's
That's
a
it.
physical issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And how do you know about my lactose intolerance? My nose knows about it.
Aw. I mean, I feel
I
his
love
pain.
a good fart joke because I'm a child.
Okay, so we got a Buzz McNabb sighting, and that brings us to
Pineapple hunt.
a very early pineapple hunt. So Buzz McNabb is bringing through smoothies. He's got like a whole drinks carrier, and he drops one off to Sean, who asks, "Pineapple?"
Oh, yes. I was like, what are you talking about, Kaylee?
Yeah. And McNabb says, "Of course." Of
course. But did you notice that Buzz had 3 smoothies?
He had 4 in his little carrier, and he gave one to Sean. And he's like,
He didn't give one to Gus.
no, because
Sean.
Sean put it in order.
Yeah.
Because Gus was like, "Oh, we're ordering food now?" He's like, "They were going out anyway."
I love it.
Yeah. So,
But I wonder who those other smoothies were for, besides Buzz, because I'm a nerd and I think about stuff like that.
my headcanon is the character that is spoken of but only revealed in the very last scene of the very last episode in season 8
Oh,
is one of them.
that would be hilarious if that was him.
It's like he's definitely putting in an order for those smoothies, and that's why Sean has a weird fascination with him.
Yep.
We haven't even gotten his name yet. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but
Nope.
we'll get there. So,
They are in the office, and Sean finally talks Gus into sitting in Chief's chair because it's so comfortable. And so he finally...
And then he talks him into trying his smoothie.
Yes, he finally sits down and he hands him his smoothie, and Gus kicks back, and does he put his feet up on Chief's desk?
I don't know, he really starts to settle in and like
Yeah. And that's
Immediately.
when Chief comes in.
So Sean's instantly in, you want me on a case mode. I'm playing psychic. Why am I getting this? Why am I getting that? Did I see something or did I sense something?
We ultimately find out that there is a person coming in to talk about a bank robbery that actually happened 4 years ago. Because the person coming in is the wife of one of the robbers, who is presumed to be, quote unquote, the dead husband from our title.
Yeah, so there were 3 guys who apparently succeeded in robbing a bank. This one guy got away with the money and died, and that gets talked about more later. But the 2 other guys went to prison, and they're about to get out. So it's a courtesy, let her know. What is that called? I don't know.
I'd like let
It's
the
called
widow
something.
know just in case they come after her, kind of situation.
Right, that's what comes up, because then we switch over from Chief's office where she's like, haha, no, there's no case, go away.
So the scene starts actually with Sean telling Gus that the chief had told them to wait in her office. And so when Chief comes in, she's like, I don't even remember why I asked you to stay. And just as she's kicking them out, she goes, oh, I remember what I wanted to tell you. Stay out of my chair. And then she slams the door in their face. And I'm like, Chief Vic, you've got so much sass. I love it.
This poor woman, just dealing with so much crap. So we switch to Jules and Lassiter talking to a woman whose name is Raylene. We're going to get her a lot. I'm probably going to call her Ray. So Ray's being informed that the guys are being released, and she's like, my husband's the only one who knew where this money was hidden. Why do I need to know this? Why am I in danger? And Lassiter's like, do they know he's the only one who knew where the money was hidden?
Right.
Bom, bom.
I don't know how Sean gets his way in there, but he walks in and he goes, I'm getting a bank. Am I getting a bank? A piggy bank? A sperm bank?
He looks at Jules when he...
Yeah.
But, okay, here's the thing. I think he just walks in and introduces himself and asks if they know each other, if they met somewhere at the bank. Why
That's
am I
it,
getting
that's
a
it.
bank? Yeah, and that's what... Yeah. And Sean overheard the word psychic earlier, and Chief told him that the woman used to see a psychic. She did not need a psychic.
Right.
So he uses this as an in with the lady because she's an enthusiast.
And then, of course, Gus picks up on his ladies' man vibes and starts
Oh, yeah.
like looking at her and like talking to her and being all smooth, and hands her his business card.
Literally wrote, Gus steps in with the smooth.
Yes. I can write my personal phone number on the back if that'll help you. We're here for you anytime.
They quote some weird book at each other, and
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what the H is this book? Like, it sounds ridiculous.
A person who wears many hats doesn't like his hair. Is that the quote?
I don't know, something like that. It was
I think
really
that's it.
so
I really like my hair,
bizarre.
so I don't wear hats. At the end of their weird little like Gus being smooth, Sean just looks at them and goes, and scene. And the scene cuts and we go into our
Did you
intro.
miss the part where he waltzed in and I think tossed Lassiter Gus's keys and then Lassiter someone's badge, but we're not sure if it's Lassiter's or someone else's?
So I wrote down, I found your keys and wallet, but I couldn't remember why I wrote that
I
down.
think that might be exactly what he does when he first swans into the scene.
Oh, and he has Lassie's keys and wallet, maybe?
I think because Gus walks in saying, have you seen my keys? So I was like, were those
Oh.
Gus's and whose badge is that? So he didn't really get anywhere, but we cut to the psych office. And Sean's printing out news reports researching the robbery and the crash that supposedly killed Ray's husband.
But when Gus walks in, the first thing he sees
Demolition.
is that the entire middle wall of the office has been knocked
Full
out.
demo. And he's like, this is a lease. My name is on this lease.
You have to take my name off the lease. Oh,
And that window.
Gus, I'm sure it's not a load-bearing wall, but if you're really that worried, you can go upstairs and start jumping up and down.
Then Gus notices that Ray is in the office in another room. Their first real client alert, but she wants to hire them because she's interested in contacting her dead husband. So there was a fiery crash. It was torrential rain. She needs to know where the money is or some way to protect herself apparently from these 2 other guys who are getting released. And she's afraid for her life now.
But Sean starts psychically realizing all of this Well, he has his computer open in front of him because he's reading the articles to her. And
Oh
then
yeah,
Gus
and then
just
he
looks at
shuts
him
it.
and is like, "Are you kidding, man? Like this isn't even slick." And yet she fell for it because that's what people do to Sean because he has such good hair.
I love that. Hair comes up in this episode a
It
lot,
does.
which I enjoy. So Gus is flat out refusing because he thinks there's real danger here, and he's like, "We're gonna mess up. Somebody's gonna get hurt. This woman's gonna get hurt. I don't want to be a part of that." So he's telling her to get in touch with the authorities. Don't mess around with psychicness, and protect herself for real, for real.
Right behind him, Sean is literally like mouthing, "We'll take the case. Everything's okay," and like smiling and thumbs upping, and I'm just like, beautiful, beautiful.
All right, next scene, Lassie and Jules on a stakeout.
What a
So,
surprise.
loving that this comes into play. And the scene opens with Juliet giving an FYI to Lassiter. I am not comfortable with inter-office romance.
My notes just say Jules shuts Lassie down for no reason.
Not for no reason. She's heard the rumors about why his former partner was transferred.
That's fair, but they hadn't really like there hadn't been any like what's the word? Inklings,
Chemistry?
inclinations, chemistry, that's a good word.
Not that kind
There
of
hadn't been
chemistry.
any moments and then all of a sudden she was just like, I'm not comfortable with inter-office romance.
She doesn't know if he's a dirtbag, though. Like, I seriously feel for her, but also I think she uses it as an opportunity to start digging at him about, like, his conduct in the office previous, because she's like, oh, so then the rumors aren't true.
I'm not comfortable with those
and
implications.
I will not deign to respond, or something stupid. It's like... So he was apparently on the OG case, and he's reliving the time that he arrested these two guys that they're on the stakeout watching. They're at the motel the guys are staying at.
And
And Jules
everything
just says,
Oh, go ahead.
"Oh, no, go for it."
Oh no, I
Oh,
wasn't gonna I
moving
was
on.
gonna move forward, so take it.
Oh, so was I.
Were you gonna say Lassie caught the robbers, but he was really upset because he never actually found the money?
Right, he didn't close the case. I was gonna say Jules is like, they don't look so mean. They're not that tough. Like, they've been to prison, sure, but they're like not hardened killers.
Yeah, they didn't kill a guy. Basically, Lassie had the original case, and he was able to catch the two guys, but he obviously didn't catch the dead guy, and they were never able to fund the money. So they just ended up with a lot of loose ends, and Lassie
Very
was,
unsatisfying.
yeah, not just unsatisfying, but like that really would have made Lassiter's career. So part of me
Ooh.
is really happy that that never happened because in my little world, then maybe
yeah.
he wouldn't be sitting there on a stakeout with Juliet.
Aw. We cut back to
Oh,
the office.
I wrote it down this time. $3.6 million.
The amount of money that went
Got
missing
the
after
money.
the robbery.
Got the money right. I wrote it down. I checked it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty or nice. We're good.
I just want to say before we continue, I hate a robbery. Robberies imply violence or threat of violence, but I respect a burglary. Like a well done, high stakes burglary. There's no threat to anyone, no one gets hurt, no one else is supposed to be around or is around, and then, some cat burglar gets off with something just by being so sneaky and good. But
You mean like if you get inside, that's just entering? It's not breaking and entering if we don't break anything?
we'll get there.
We're back at the psych office, and it is time for the seance, where Sean is going to try to get in touch with the dead husband, who I don't know his name.
I wrote it down later, but it doesn't really matter.
That's true.
Because he's just the guy with good hair.
Yeah. Okay, so he will be known as dead husband, guy with good hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Gus busts into the office where Sean is holding a seance, and he tries to disrupt it. I hear a voice.
Sean, get over here.
It wants me to go outside.
The whole time, Sean has first of all, Sean has on Gus's bathrobe, and
It's like a kimono,
Yeah.
let's be real.
And
it's flowy as all get
there's
out.
a fan blowing so that the bathrobe kimono is like flying, and he just kind of reaches his foot up and he turns off the fan and they go outside.
Did you see his shoes? What the heck were those shoes?
I didn't notice that.
Okay. You need to freeze frame. They're ridiculous. I don't know if they're supposed to be... They look like bowling shoes, but slippers, and they look, in the glimpse I got, slightly pointed toed.
Oh.
I was like, what is this? What is this? Is he wearing genie slippers now too?
That's funny. Oh my gosh. If he had on genie slippers with that kimono, that would be beautiful.
But another note I have is, who are all these women at the seance? Like, we know Ray, but we only meet really one other character
Yeah.
sitting around this table. There's at least like 5 women,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, we don't have any idea who any of them are, and I don't know if it's just like, do you think Ray was just like, hey, I need some people to come and do this with me so that it looks legit, or I don't know.
I really could not say. I was like, there's women in this scene. That's fun. Who are they?
Well, Sean and Gus end up outside, and Gus said, you cannot have a seance. And Sean goes, yes, I can. It's like having a garage sale or something else. Anyone can do it. And then Gus said, first of all, you need to have a permit in order to have a garage sale. Second of all, you cannot talk to the dead.
But Sean is already getting some good stuff. He says the dead guy had 3 days with the cash before he died. So it could really be anywhere, and he's trying to get more clues. So Gus reluctantly lets them go back in to sit down, and Gus... Now I'm doing
Yes.
it. Sean...
Leaving that in. It's not just me, people.
Sean starts working. He says, I want to talk about the last call he made, the last time he spoke to anyone. And Ray says, well, Ellen's the only one who spoke to him the last time he called. And Ellen's his sister. And she gives up clues. And Sean is, I think, doing a very bad job at being a psychic here. Because he's like, just confirming everything she says by like, yes, I sense that. Like,
From a payphone. What's the nearest cross street?
nearest cross
Street? I mean, I always thought it was the one near the thrifty mart near Bismo, is what she ends up saying.
Pismo, yes. So she drops that it's near a place they used to go with their cousin Roger. Roger? Who's Roger? So Sean kind of breaks for a second.
And as soon as the sister said Roger, which was their cousin, right? They used to hang out with or something. Sean totally just like looks at her because she makes this face of, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. And it was very obvious that she kind of let something slip. And then Gus is just like done. And Gus stops the seance.
Don't ruin it for everyone, Gus. Ellen says
Yeah.
that. It's hilarious.
He stands up, he looks at Raylene? He looks at Raylene and says, you need to get a bodyguard. And basically as soon as he said that, a brick, a rock, something comes flying through the window and it breaks the psych window.
Can I please just preemptively point out, we never get an answer as to what happened. Was it just like...
That was one of my notes. No, we never get an answer of who that was because later on, Lassiter and Juliet confirmed that they were never near the psych off.
Yeah, and they've been tailing the 2 guys that got out of prison.
Albeit, like,
And they're-
not super well. They have lost them, but still.
Not yet.
No.
So,
Well,
yeah.
as long as we're talking about that, though, my question is that when we go from a blue psych logo to a green psych logo on the window?
I was watching, and no.
Right, because, like, literally 2 scenes later, the window's fixed again, and the blue one's back.
Yeah, I wrote, wait, who broke the window? Also, did insurance cover this and fix it that quick?
Yeah. But I was wondering if that was how they were going to do, like, in the next episode.
That's
if all
exactly
of a sudden
what I thought.
it's going to be a green logo, because at some point it changes. I think it might be at the end of the season, but I was like, oh, I wonder if this is how they write that in.
I had that same exact thought. So, I don't know why I wrote this, but I wrote Gus blames Sean. Oh, yes. So he blames Sean because he's like, did you set this up to, like, say there were, like, bad spirits? And Sean was like, no. But why didn't you bring this to me? That's genius.
Yes. Why didn't you float that by me earlier? That's genius. And they're staring out the window, and Gus saw someone run away, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, yeah, they've already run off. I saw them. And so they're like, you're sure? They're gone.
Sean ends up screaming, ladies, stay here. We're going after them. Or it. And then looks at Gus and said, let's get some tacos.
And to which I said, always. Let's always get tacos. I want tacos. Okay. Anyway, it's Tuesday. Back at the SBPD, Sean and Gus want to see the file. They're trying to finesse Juliet to get a peek at the file. And this is very callback to the pilot, where they are talking to not Juliet, whose name I never will remember.
Nope.
And she actually shows it to them. But Juliet shuts it down.
Yep. It just straight up shuts it down, and they walk away, and Gus said, I like the other girl better.
Not me. Like, I wrote down, Sean is emphatic about it. At this point, I wrote Gus out. He's just like, I'm out of here. This is a waste of time.
But when Sean leaves, Sean walks past the officer that was from the pilot, who we know is super into psychics.
I wrote down the name on her tag. I didn't see the first initial, but her last name is Allen, so we can call her Officer Allen. She deserves a name. She's awesome, and I wish she was in more of the series.
I just wrote Psychic Heart Officer.
So Officer Allen is standing there, Sean notices, and he walks by coughing so that she'll notice him. Because they're friends. It's cute.
Sean said something about how much better she's looking or how much better she's sounding, and she said, I took your advice and I haven't had a cigarette in 3 weeks. Again, people don't smoke. And Sean said, it wasn't me. It was your grandma's spirit who told you to stop smoking.
Also, your aura is looking... What does he say?
Like, your aura is looking much better. Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah. I love her cropped hair, by the way. So he's making this psychic small talk, and she goes, my grandmother, have you spoken to her again? He instantly is like, oh, sensing something. Maybe from the records room?
Oh, but I can't get in there. And she just lifts up her giant keychain, and she was like, let's go.
He clocked her giant keychain, and I clocked him clocking her giant keychain before he went over to her, and I was like, oh, yeah.
They end up in the records room, and...
over by the W's.
Yeah, Officer Allen tries to turn the lights on, but Sean's like, no, keep the lights low.
Not too much light.
We don't want to scare them. I couldn't figure out why he told her to do that, just to make it harder for her to see him.
Yeah, that's what I think. So they go over to the W's because he's being led there spiritually.
She's over by the W's. Why? No, W.
I literally sat there for like half a second like, huh? Oh.
I love me a good pun.
He goes, I don't know. Do you know anyone with name of W? That bastard Walter. She almost went Southern there.
Is that your ex-husband?
So she's got her eyes closed because he's supposedly got his eyes closed and he's trying to concentrate, and he's then rummaging through the folders, and she says, I hear paper. He's like, no. It's like, yes, definitely. It's paper. And he's like, concentrate. Meanwhile, he's taking notes on his hand with like a blue washable Crayola marker.
I noticed that. I noticed that the second time around. I was like, where did that come from?
Always prepare this, Sean. So he finishes up, and then she's like, I'm definitely not sensing anything anymore. And he's like, I'm afraid we've lost her.
The scene cuts. They end up in Gus's bedroom. Gus is dead asleep. Oh, and Sean is
dressed in his dad's old polo shirt. What the heck is with his outfit?
I can tell you. Okay, so I have to admit this was an Amazon Prime trivia note. But if you go back and watch that scene, when the lights turn on and the camera is on Sean sitting posed in his weird outfit, if you look just to his right, there's a picture of young Gus. And Sean is wearing the same clothes that young Gus is wearing and sitting in the same pose.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I'm not kidding. I paused
it
to take a note, and Amazon popped up with this general trivia, and that was the piece of general trivia that popped up, and I was like, no! And I rewinded it, and I was like, oh!
How very dare he.
It's true! But that's why he was dressed like that.
Well, I hate that polo. It sticks around far too long. It was very distracting and ratty looking. Oh my gosh. So he's waking Gus up and demanding they go somewhere. That
They go
scene
visit Roger because Roger runs the cemetery where dead husband was buried.
entombed.
Entombed,
We'll
very
later
good point.
find out.
Roger not only runs the cemetery, but he also lives on the grounds.
Yeah.
And that's creepy as all get out.
Kind of cool and creepy. I mean, I've heard it both ways. But so they're riding to see Roger. It's like 60 miles away, and Gus is very unhappy. He's like 60 miles away on like no reason. Like, we have no evidence about this. This is ridiculous. And Sean's licking his fingers, and he's like, you could have at least gotten me a donut too.
I did, but I already ate it.
Rude. Also, Stacy's mom is on the radio in the background.
I know. And then the whole conversation that happened.
Oh my gosh.
So essentially we find out that Gus has some feelings for Raylene, and it's because she reminds Gus of somebody. And this is the first
Babysitter, right?
well, it ends up being the babysitter, but first Sean said, "It's MBB, isn't it?" And MBB
Meredith Baxter Birney.
Meredith Baxter Burney, and Gus goes, "No, but you had a crush on her too." And Sean just slides out, "Well, that's because she was hot and she was the mom of APK, which is Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties."
Who was also hot.
That's true.
Because
That's true. He also had really good hair.
oh my gosh. Okay. So if anyone doesn't know, because I'm ancient and have been in love with Michael J. Fox since I was a very, very small child. He is a very small man, and I do like that in a man. But he was adorable and a dork in that show, which also very much tracks for me. But yeah, so Family Ties.
Gus ends up telling Sean that it's a babysitter that Raylan reminds him of. And at the time that she was babysitting him, she was 37 years old. And then Stacy's mom gets louder.
Ooh. And the scene ends. Sean's face is also hilarious. He's just, oh. Okay, so we're at this kind of honestly run-down looking house. Like, it could at least be a cute house, but it's not. So I was like, is Roger a cemetery manager, owner? What is his role? We don't really get it explained. We never meet him, spoiler alert. His name is Roger Blaine also, which is kind of a creepy made-up sounding name. And they're on the porch knocking and no one's answering. It doesn't seem like anybody's home, but Gus insists there is somebody home. And we get our
super smeller moment. Because
and then Sean's really annoyed by it.
Gus starts to smell and he's like, that's laundry. Someone's doing laundry. Sean goes, "Oh yeah, I smell it too. T-shirts and jeans and bounce dryer sheets."
He's making fun, but it's very apparent when someone's running their dryer and has something fragrant in there. But these boys know nothing about laundry. How long do you think boys don't do laundry? Clearly.
They end up walking around the house to see if there's somebody at the back door because someone's not answering the front door.
Very Pink Panther and hilarious what
That's
they're
very,
doing.
very true.
And Sean tries to make bird noises and, and sign language that doesn't make sense.
That was actually a I'm Sean moment instead of an I'm Gus moment. There was one time in my old job where I looked at one of my residence directors and I was like, "Okay, when I make the secret signal, I'm going to need you to turn off the lights." And the secret signal was so I'm in the middle of a presentation and I just go. She had no idea what I was doing. She kind of forgot the secret signal. The lights did not go out. It all failed.
Oh my goodness. That I feel like my initial reaction wasn't big enough. I was really trying to tamp myself down because picturing that is going to make me lose it. So, we got to move on. Okay. The Sneak Around, A++ Sean comedy.
Also,
doing the Alexis.
I did write down his name, dead husband's name right here.
Yeah, at this part I did. It didn't matter before now because he was just dead husband, but we're meeting him, so he gets a name.
His name is David Wilcroft. He ends up answering the door when Sean knocks, and
I wrote, "Oops, the dead guy."
As soon as they realize that it's the dead guy, Gus just faints. And it's beautiful.
I love it. Gus's reactions to everything are always just so, like, they're big enough to fit the right amount of comedy. He's got luscious hair, and Sean and Gus from here on out are very kind of preoccupied with this man's locks. Ooh.
They end up going inside. I guess like if we had been watching it originally on USA, that's where it would have cut to commercial. And
Mm.
then when the commercial came back, they're inside with dead husband, David.
Oh god. Dead husband
And
is my favorite.
dead husband. Yeah, that's probably what we're going to end up calling the episode, which is only a little bit better than she sucks.
Ooh.
They're inside with David Wilcroft, who lost that $3.5 million.
And is still looking for it.
When they had the bank heist, David took the money, and it was his job to take the money and bury it so they could split it up later. But it was a crazy, rainy night, and the car ended up going over the hill, and we thought that David died in a fiery crash.
Yeah, like nothing was left of this car. It was burned to smithereens, so they were like, we didn't find human remains, but we're not super surprised.
But somehow, I guess, David got out, and he realized that he was better off dead.
Yeah, he lost the money. Everything's a mess. We'll find out more later. But Gus shames him over Raylene because he says she's going out of her mind. She had to grieve him, blah, blah, blah. And Sean starts digging into Gus about his feelings for Raylene in front of David. I like David because it kind of sounds like dead husband said really, really fast. Sorry. And I just wrote, Sean, what are you doing? This is so awkward. I really hated this part both times I watched it. Oh.
They're fighting over it, and David, dead husband, ended up saying that was kind of her gift. She could always charm anybody.
Oh yeah, she's a very compelling woman.
That's it.
Yeah. So
they ultimately end up leaving. They leave David there.
But David says, "Look, don't turn me in yet. I'm so close. Like, keep her safe. Do what you need to do, but like, give me this time." Because, like, I've covered...
And says he wants to turn in the money.
Yeah, he's like, I've covered so much ground. I've got to be close. There can't be much left. Like, I'm working on it. Oh, I was like, what does this note say? Look at my notes. Exactly. Like, I'm a mess.
Yours are, I mean, mine aren't much better, but they're a little bit better.
Oh, I've always had the most terrible handwriting. But I really, like, when it's for me, I really don't try at all. So they go back to the office, and immediately Gus is like, your husband's still alive. We've seen him. We talked to him. He's at Roger's house. And Sean is like, we didn't discuss this. And, or what does he say? He was like, this is not what we discussed. And Gus says, we didn't discuss.
Gus just tells her everything, lays it all out. He's still alive. He doesn't know where the money is.
The look on her face, I just wrote, she looks like the Chucky doll. Like, she looks possessed by a demon in this scene where she's sitting in a chair and, like, they're not really paying attention to her reactions enough.
This is where we find out that Juliet and Lassie are still on this stakeout. They're still following these criminals, but we find out that the stakeout that they're on is unsanctioned.
Yeah, Jules starts poking holes, like, who authorized this? Who gave you the permission officially? And he's like, I did.
They end up going through a ton of, like, codes, police codes of why it's okay and why it's not okay. Ultimately, they end up saying something that is wrong, and Sean pops his head out of the back seat and corrects them both.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, Sean knows police code. Which, you know, we talked about briefly before because in the pilot he showed off his shooting skills.
Mm-hmm. He looked at Lassie and said, how did you not know that? And then looked at Juliet and said, you're new and pretty, so it's okay.
But I just wrote, Sean in the backseat, surprise! Also, his bomber jacket from here on out that says Stinger on the back, I'm really enjoying. Like, I very much would have wanted a jacket like that at one point in my life. But so he's like, you should really be concerned about how I snuck in here and lounged for 2 minutes without anyone noticing.
Sean tells them that the guys they're following don't know where the money is, and points out that he's pretty sure that that's why they're following the two robbery guys.
Oh, yeah. That's why Lassie and Jules are staking them out, because they're hoping that they'll lead them to the money. Also, Sean has been busy distracting them so that the guys get away and Jules and Lassie are now without their quarry, giving Gus and Sean the opportunity to slip on in. Also, I wrote, oops, Jules is charmed again.
That's the scene where Sean said to them, these guys broke my window, and that's when Juliet and Lassiter said, no, we've been tailing them this whole time. They've never come near the psych office, so we don't know who threw the rock through the office.
Just kids being stupid. Was it a rock? Nobody ever picked it up. It could have been like a baseball. It's like we lost
Yeah.
sight of whatever was happening, but it never got explained, and I kind of hate that.
But they ended up getting tacos, so that's okay.
Yeah, it all worked out for them, but I mean, I like an explanation. Does that make me the Gus?
This is when Sean and Gus are at the hotel and they end up trying to break into these robbers' hotel
A
room.
little light beanie, and Gus is not here for it.
That's where my quote from earlier comes in.
It's not breaking and entering if you're just entering. I'm not breaking anything.
Finally, Gus, nope. Sean looked at him and said, "Would it make you feel better if we open up a window? Maybe it's already unlocked." And so while Sean is opening up the window, Gus just kind of stops and's like, "Sean, look behind you." And the robbers are there with a gun.
So, these two guys, do we ever get names for them? Because
The robbers?
I'm just like, the dead guy and these two guys. I don't know. But
The other guys. Let's call them the other guys. I like that.
The other guys. I have a note that Gus is lawful good and Sean is chaotic good. So, just for reference.
That's very poetic.
It's very D&D of me. So Sean is instantly playing psychic. He says he's got a message from David that he's concerned that they are going to harm Raylene, and they find this hilarious. They also find it hilarious later, but first other things happen because they don't trust Sean. So the one guy tells the other guy to go out and make sure they're left alone, and he's going to give Sean a psychic test.
And Sean tries to, talk out of it. It doesn't really work that way. It's not really like a show. It just kind of happens. And then the gun gets pointed at Sean again. And Sean's like, "Okay, let's do it."
The guy's going to do something kind of rudimentary, and he's going to put his fingers behind his back and make Sean guess what he's doing. Sean quickly realizes that he can see the guy's reflection of his hands in the TV screen, but not only that, it also bounces off the large wall mirror behind Sean and onto the metal pitcher in front of Sean. So he doesn't even have to look far or strain hard to see how many fingers this guy is holding up.
So he gets it right. And the guy's like, "You can see my hand, can't you?" And Sean, in all of his snark, said, "Oh yeah, I can see your fingers. It's bouncing off the TV, and that's bouncing off the mirror behind me, which is bouncing off the picture in front of me, and that's how I know." And I'm just like, dude, why are you rubbing it in? So the other guy turns, and he puts his finger, and he's like, "Okay, one more time." And
now he's standing in front of Gus, and Gus's
Right in
face
front
is
of him.
like, is he serious? What the heck is this? Like, he just can't believe it for like 30 seconds flat. And then the guy's like, "How many fingers?" And Gus holds up his hand like, "Really?"
Sean goes, "Dude, you gotta stop picking three."
So he's made a believer out of him.
They both end up telling Sean and Gus about the dead guy and the other member of their team.
Okay, so the dead guy was the wheelman, and Sean sounds surprised by this, and they're like, "Shouldn't you know that?" And he's like, "Thanks." In the spirit world, well, Gus actually says they get jumbled. They don't all call them through at the same or in the right order or whatever.
They're talking about their additional partner, and they find out that they call her the Viper.
She's really the mastermind. She wasn't even really on the team. She was just like, "Oh, you're doing this."
We had to do whatever she said. And she is Raylene, the husband, the wife.
Keep it.
She is Raylene, the Viper, the wife of the dead guy that Gus is kind of in love with.
I love it. We're a mess.
And then Sean goes, "You've always been attracted to dangerous women. You know, Joan Jett, Penny Marshall, Grace Jones, Lizzie Borden, Kathy Bates."
Yeah, he lost me on that train. But I wrote at this point, how many greedy women do we have to watch in these episodes? Like, let's move on from this trope, because the last episode, she sucked.
And Gus really does continue this pattern of falling in love with dangerous women. I mean, to the end, to the last Psych movie.
If not always.
Or is it the second Psych movie?
Second. But it's not always dangerous women, but sometimes it's suspectedly dangerous women. Things always happen to Gus.
Or women who make, adventurous choices.
Yeah. So then Gus and Sean have to sneak out because Lassie and Jules have caught up, and they're now staking out the motel once again. But once they get out, they head back to
the cemetery to check on David because they know that's where the Viper's
Oh
headed.
yeah, because she knows exactly where he is. Thanks, Gus. But I wrote confrontation at the tombs and then instantly thought, that's an Agatha Christie title.
They walk in and the Viper, Raylene, has a gun. And Sean goes, "What is today? Gun day?" Because this is the second time that he's had a gun pulled on.
Yeah, and he decides to bluff big because she's demanding that David tell her where the money is, and obviously this poor man has not found it yet. And Sean says he doesn't know where it is, only I know where it is. And then she's like, then tell me where it is, because I'm pointing a gun at your head. And he's like, it is in the tomb where David is not. Duh. Well, not in so many words, but...
It's in the crypt. And then someone's opening my door. Hey, boo-boo. And that was Bum 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 Drew. Today's episode is sponsored by Bum Bum Bum. Gus looked at him and said, "How did you know it was in the crypt?" And Sean goes, "I don't, I'm bluffing. How long is it going to take for them to get into the crypt?" And that's when Raylene says, "You," and she's talking to Dead Guy, "pick up this stanchion and knock it out, get it open." Dude, did you know that thing was called a stanchion?
Of course I did. Which... no one knows that's called a stanchion. This episode is lying to all of us. They're gaslighting me. Nobody knows what that's called.
I would have called that a standard. Like, we have stuff like that at my church. We call them standards. In the theater, we used to call those standards. I've never heard them called a stanchion.
Yeah, no, I don't call them things. They are the barrier that makes me stay in a line, and I resent them.
Stay in a line. Stay in a line.
Oh my god.
That was so weird. My brain did something weird there. They knock the crypt open with the stanchion.
Instantly.
No, not they. Dead Guy knocks the crypt open with the stanchion. And then Gus and Sean start talking to try to kill time, right?
Yeah, they're trying to lengthen things, and then we get our other guys. They show up, and he's like, haha, yay, just what I was waiting for. But it's like, no one's armed but her, and she even says, I can do whatever I want, because someone asked her if she's just going to shoot them all.
What happened to the gun that the other guys had?
They didn't bring it with them, apparently. But then, as we know, someone's on the tail of the other guys, so Lassie and Jules show up, and they shut everything down.
They end up arresting Raylene. They end up arresting David, the dead guy, for faking his own death and, stealing $3.5 million. And as they're arresting Dead Guy, Sean said, "He does have nice hair, though." And Gus just kind of agreed. "That's a lot to keep up with, though. I don't know if I want to do that." Like, they're like, "I like it, but..."
Yeah, they're instantly trying to find fault with it. Like, I don't have that hair because it would just be too much work to keep it up. Bro, I feel you. That's why I keep going back to the pixie cut.
They're back at SBPD. And they're in the chief's office, and the chief is trying to figure out, like, how they knew to put those two things together.
A woman's got questions, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and...
they're trying to figure out how Lassiter and Juliet knew that David was still alive, and...
Well, because Sean keeps giving credit to Lassiter, and I just wrote, WTF? Like, I can't figure out why he's doing it, and I think I figured it out, because... I believe Lassie figured it out, but it's all very, like, he keeps saying, oh, Lassie knew, and I knew psychically from his brain. Like, it was all Lassiter.
I picked it up from Detective Lassiter's giant brain. Once again, Lassie manhandles Sean.
I wrote that too.
Pulls him out into the hallway.
I know what you're doing.
I know what you're doing.
Which, yeah, very theme song. And I went, what is he doing? Is Lassie right?
Lassiter thinks that Sean... Nope. Yes. Lassiter thinks that Sean is trying to get Lassiter to admit that Sean is psychic.
Which I think is a setup that, again, pays off eventually.
Yep.
And I was like, this is really cute. I really love them. But Sean is still ribbing him, and... he's like, aren't you going to tell us where the money is hidden? And Lassiter's like, I don't know where the money is. And he's like, sure you do. Think. I'm getting dirt. and then Lassiter's like getting angry and angrier. And he just goes, what am I going to say now? As he walks away. Which sounds like a threat.
The episode ends with Sean and Gus, quote unquote, getting some fresh air. And they stop at a trail end. And Gus is confused why they're there. They walk out, and Sean said, "We're gonna get the
Dread pirate.
That's it. You say it. I can't stumble over it.
We're here for the Dread pirate Willcroft's dirty booty."
You just want to say Dread Pirate
I
Roberts,
really do.
and then you have to stop yourself. The Dread Pirate Wilcoff's dirty booty.
How did he do that? But I love the Princess Bride allusion because that too comes into play in this beautiful, beautiful series.
It does. It does.
Okay. Before we freak
Also,
out.
The Princess Bride is probably one of my favorite movies.
And
ever.
the most quotable, probably by far, forever, and it should be.
It's true.
But Sean drops the bomb that even though Dead Guy is 100% certain he knows the area where he buried the money and he just doesn't know the exact spot, he says it was the Kalish Loop, but it was torrential rains. 2 full days of torrential rains. The worst rains in 30 years, Dead Guy said at one point. So Sean says that there's a second Kalish Loop that is only opened up for evacuations and for emergency vehicles and
In situations where there's torrential downpours.
yeah, flooding and so forth. So he's like, he's been digging the wrong area this whole time and we're gonna find this.
90 minutes top.
Also, he brought tandoori chicken. So
Brought up snacks, and when they're walking to go get the dirty booty, well, they're walking to go shovel up.
keep
the word?
dirty booty. I want to keep saying dirty booty.
What is it? What is it when you shovel things? You unbury.
Dig.
Dig. Oh my gosh. I could not come up with the word dig, Kaylee. When they go to try to dig up the dirty booty, Gus said, "If I find it, I'm taking credit." And Sean was like, "No, no, no. I'm the psychic. I'm the one who has to tell them. I'll be like, I'm picturing chicken bones, tandoori style." And I bet they were delicious. And then we fade into the end music.
They were fresh, yes. Oh, that was glorious.
And that is the episode that we don't understand the title of.
Yeah, that and like it's not. I mean, it was fun. I really enjoyed both times watching it.
I have another note.
mhm.
This is going to come up in my favorite quote at the end. But twice in this episode, Sean references Mahjong.
What is that, Shawshank? What is that reference?
I don't know, but have you ever played Mahjong?
Only the computer version.
Okay, that's the version that I play. I really like Mahjong, but he brought it up in the quote that I'm going to say at the end because it was my favorite quote. But then he also brought it up about them in prison. He's like, "I thought you guys had TV and lawn darts and Mahjong."
That's why.
But I don't understand why it came up twice in the episode.
That's why, like, that time is what made me think, is this from Shawshank? But, okay, I have a confession to make. I've never seen that movie because I
Girl, you know I haven't.
Like, it's, okay, so it's Stephen King, but it's not a horror film. And what I know of Stephen King, not horror films, like The freaking Green Mile, is that he is emotionally manipulating me to cry, and I've got radar for it, and I just don't need that in my life.
Nope.
So I have not watched it, and I know that as a supported cinephile is tantamount to heresy, but here I stand.
Oh my gosh, Kaylee, my house smells like bacon right now. Maybe that's why Drew opened my door, so I would smell the bacon.
Does that mean we're
Bum,
done?
bum, bum. Bacon. Okay, do we have any other... I think I got all of my pop culture quotes out.
Yeah, I didn't pick up anything. I forgot to write down the thing about Mahjong.
Oh, you had said to me that you had a correction that you were maybe going to make. But it was from, like, the first episode.
And I don't remember now.
Okay, I don't either. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. I mean, I'm sure I said
It's
something.
our podcast and we'll do what we want.
I remember. I said something stupid in the first episode about how Sean made an anonymous call to the precinct, and it was not an anonymous call. He clearly gave his name at the end of that call and then went into the precinct to hopefully collect a reward. And so
Yep.
using the word anonymous when something's not anonymous is stupid. And I'm sorry, but...
I mean, I've heard it both ways, so I'm not really worried.
Oh, what did I say to someone? I think I said that in book club last night. I forget why. Oh, we were talking about roll call. Someone said, is it ROLL or ROLE. And I just went, I heard it both ways. And then I went, speaking of, and shamelessly plugged our podcast.
I keep doing that too. We have a standing coffee date with some of my girlfriends from up here, and last night we were talking about it, and I told them that we were going to drop our trailer, and I immediately sent them the link to our Podbean link.
Oh,
I was like, here, you should listen.
we have a couple of downloads. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, that's what the analytics are telling me.
I just posted to YouTube today. Our channel is Team Blueberry. And if you need like our name is To The Blueberry Podcast at gmail.com. So if you can find us there. But if you just search To The Blueberry, let me tell you something. You're not going to find it. So if you're really looking for our YouTube episode because you really want to see the cool logos that Kaylee and I put together, you can email us at totheblueberrypodcast at gmail.com. And I will be more than happy to send you a direct link. And then you can follow there so you'll never miss an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, subscribe, leave us reviews if you guys start to listen. This is just something we're doing for fun, but it'd be cool if other people had fun with us.
Also, just like as a general internet note, the world has enough hate in it right now. So if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, dude, we're not here to discuss literally anything but all the joy that is psych. So, I mean...
Oh, and pineapples and bacon because I can still smell it.
I'm a fan of delicious flavor. But I don't eat bacon. So more for you. I killed her.
I'm Alexis. Bingo. Yahtzee. Mahjong.
And I'm Kaylee. And the guy with the gun is flipping me the bird.
And this has been To The Blueberry!
Psych out!